Ever feel like you're just scrambling to keep up with something huge, something changing everything, but you just don't have the hours to read every single report?
Yeah, I think we all feel that way sometimes.
Well, that's exactly why we're here. Today, we're diving deep into a really significant document, UNESCO's recommendation on the ethics of artificial intelligence.
It's a vital piece of work, definitely. I mean, we're all seeing AI develop incredibly quickly.
Right.
And with that comes, a lot of promise, but also some real questions about the guardrails. Where are they? This UNESCO recommendation is a serious global attempt to provide those guardrails, to really think through the ethics.
And it's not just for the tech folks, is it? This document makes it clear AI is becoming part of, well, everything. Our societies, the environment, how we learn, how we interact.
Exactly. It touches education, science, culture, communication, the works.
So UNESCO's taken this really broad perspective, looking at impacts on human rights, equality, justice, our well-being.
Precisely. The big picture.
Yeah.
Weighing the potential good against the potential harms.
So our mission today is basically to give you the executive summary. We'll pull out the key values, the core principles, and the kinds of policy actions UNESCO is suggesting. Get you up to speed on this global conversation about AI ethics.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's maybe start by unpacking why UNESCO specifically is tackling this. What's their angle?
Well, UNESCO's whole reason for being is about peace and security through international cooperation, in education, science, culture, communication.
Oh, okay.
So AI, which can connect but also divide, which can educate but also spread misinformation,
Mm-hmm.
it fits right into their mandate.
Huh.
The recommendation acknowledges this right up front, the huge potential, but also the very real risks.
Right. They're not just cheerleading the tech. They seem very aware that AI could make existing inequalities worse.
Definitely, it could lead to new kinds of discrimination, widen the digital divide. They're clearly concerned about protecting human dignity, our basic rights, even democracy and the environment.
So their core belief is what? That we need a global standard.
Essentially, yes, a standard developed internationally, grounded in international law, focused on human dignity and rights. They see that as the responsible path forward, not just one country's view, but a shared framework.
Something that really jumped out at me was the focus on making sure no country gets left behind.
Hmm.
They specifically mention low and middle income countries, LDCs, SIDs. It feels like a strong push for global fairness.
That's absolutely critical. The worry is AI could just amplify global disparities. So this recommendation really pushes for justice and fairness, sharing the benefits, protecting everyone from the downsides, and acknowledging different contexts, too.
And it's interesting, they say tackling risks shouldn't mean stopping innovation.
Exactly. It's not about slamming the brakes. It's about steering responsibly, encouraging ethical research, research based on human rights and our shared values.
Responsible innovation. Makes sense.
And this isn't something they just cooked up recently. The document points back to a mandate from the UNESCO General Conference in 2019. It's been in the works.
Okay. Another piece they mention early on is the need for all of us citizens, everyone, to get better at data literacy, media literacy.
It's fundamental, isn't it, as AI gets more sophisticated, especially with information.
Yeah.
Our ability to judge what's real, to understand how our data is used, becomes absolutely vital for just participating in society.
And this ethical framework isn't just theoretical, right? They ground it in existing stuff.
Absolutely. It's anchored in international and national laws, established human rights principles, ethics, access to information, scientific freedom, and just general human and environmental well-being.
That gives it weight.
It does. They believe these globally accepted ethical standards can genuinely shape how AI norms develop worldwide, referencing key human rights documents.
I also noticed they specifically call out the underrepresentation of LMICs in these AI ethics debates.
Yeah, that's so important.
Pushing for local knowledge, respecting cultural pluralism.
Exactly. Ethics can't be one size fits all here. Cultural context matters hugely, and they explicitly recognize that need for diverse perspectives.
And they're clear that AI can worsen inequalities if we're not careful, stressing the need to remove barriers, build capacity.
So the benefits are shared more equitably, which naturally leads to the call for global cooperation.
Right. These challenges are too big for one country.
No way. Fair access, mitigating misuse, it needs coordinated international effort.
And the final point in that preamble, the speed, AI's development is outpacing our ability to create ethical frameworks and governance.
That's the crunch, isn't it? It creates a real risk of just steamrolling local ethical standards. It's a wake-up call, like you said, to get our act together.
Okay, so that really sets the stage, the why and the what's at stake. Let's dig into the what's now. What's the actual scope? Who and what does this recommendation cover?
Okay, so the recommendation focuses on ethical issues related to AI, specifically within UNESCO's fields:
Hmm.
education, science, culture, and communication information.
Got it. They're core areas.
Right. And they describe it as a systematic reflection, holistic, comprehensive, multicultural, and importantly, evolving.
Evolving is key. AI isn't standing still.
Not at all. And they see ethics needing to adapt too, rooted in the ethics of science and tech, always guided by human dignity, well-being, and preventing harm.
Do they try and define AI itself? It seems tricky.
They deliberately avoid a fixed definition, wisely, probably, as it would be outdated fast.
Sure.
Instead, they focus on the ethically relevant features. Systems that process data in ways that seem intelligent: reasoning, learning, perception, prediction, planning, control.
Okay, so when they talk about AI systems, what kind of tech falls under that umbrella?
They mention key elements: information processing tech, using models and algorithms for cognitive-like tasks, operating with varying levels of autonomy.
Examples.
Sure. Machine learning, deep learning, reinforcement learning, machine reasoning planning, knowledge representation. Also, applications in cyber-physical systems, think Internet of Things, robotics, human-computer
It
interfaces.
sounds incredibly broad, covering a huge range of technologies,
It is. And critically, the ethics apply across the entire AI lifecycle.
not just when it's deployed.
No, right from the start. Research, design, development, deployment, use, maintenance, trade, financing, monitoring, evaluation, all the way to end of use and disassembly.
Wow.
They even define AI actors as anyone involved in any part of that life cycle. It's a real cradle-to-grave ethical perspective.
That's a really powerful way to put it. It's not just the coders or users, it's everyone involved.
Exactly. And the document highlights the new ethical questions AI raises.
Like what?
Well, impacts on decision-making, jobs, social interaction, healthcare, education, media, information access, the digital divide, data privacy, consumer protection, the environment, democracy, rule of law, security, even dual-use concern.
And bias.
Oh, absolutely. They specifically emphasize AI's potential to reproduce and even amplify existing biases. It's a major theme.
And they're looking even further ahead, too, aren't they? The bigger philosophical shifts.
Yeah, the long-term potential for AI to challenge our very understanding of ourselves, our agency, how we relate to society and the environment. Deep stuff.
And then they drill down into those specific UNESCO domains again. Let's touch on those. Education first.
Right. In education, it's about needing new practices, ethical reflection, critical thinking, responsible design of AI tools for learning, plus preparing people for a changing job market and digital society.
Makes sense. We need the critical skills, not just the tech skills. What about science?
For science, AI impacts research capacity, how we understand things, how scientific decisions are made. It's not just a tool. It could potentially reshape scientific discovery itself.
Wow. Okay. And culture. That feels like a really complex area for AI.
It is. AI could enrich cultural industries, sure.
Yeah.
But the big worry is concentration, a few big players dominating, potentially harming linguistic diversity, media diversity, cultural expression.
We see that already with things like AI art generators, right? Questions about ownership, originality.
Exactly. And displacing human creators, it's very relevant.
And finally, communication and information. That's ground zero for AI disruption.
Totally. AI's role in processing, delivering information, think automated journalism, algorithmic news feeds, content moderation, it raises huge questions about reliable information, disinformation, hate speech, free expression, privacy, and crucially, media literacy.
It's like AI is both a tool and a challenge for the whole information ecosystem.
Spot on.
So who is this recommendation actually aimed at? Who needs to pay attention?
Primarily, it's directed at UNESCO's member states' governments. They're seen as AI actors themselves, but also the regulators setting the rules.
But not only governments.
No, it's broader. It's intended as ethical guidance for all AI actors, public sector, private sector,
Yeah.
and it provides a basis for doing ethical impact assessments.
Okay, so a call to action for governments, but also guidance for everyone involved. Got it. Now, what are the main aims? What are they trying to achieve with this whole thing?
The big overarching aim is, well, to make AI work for the good of humanity, individuals, societies, and the environment, and crucially, to prevent harm and promote peaceful uses.
It's quite an optimistic, human-focused goal.
It is, while acknowledging the need for serious safeguards. Building on existing ethics, they want this to be a globally accepted guide that's practical, focusing on concrete policy recommendations.
With a focus on certain areas.
Yes, particularly inclusion, gender equality, and environmental protection. Those get special emphasis.
And given the complexity, collaboration must be key.
Absolutely essential. They aim to foster shared responsibility through global intercultural dialogue involving all stakeholders.
So what are some of the specific objectives listed? How do they plan to achieve those big aims?
Okay, they want to provide a universal framework to help countries shape their AI laws and policies, keeping them aligned with international law.
Right.
Guide actions for individuals, groups, companies, embedding ethics throughout the AI lifecycle. Protect and promote human rights, dignity, equality, including gender equality. Safeguard future generations, preserve the environment, respect cultural diversity.
Okay.
Foster that multi-stakeholder dialogue and consensus building. And promote equitable access to AI developments and knowledge, paying special attention to LMICs.
So creating common ground and actionable guidelines. That makes sense. Now let's get to the heart of it. The values and principles. What are the core ones?
UNESCO stresses these should be respected and actively promoted by all AI actors. This might mean updating laws, creating new regulations, new business guidelines, all consistent with international law and sustainability goals, like the SDGs.
And they distinguish between values and principles.
They do. Values are the sort of high-level ideals guiding policy. Principles are more concrete, making those values operational.
Okay. And they acknowledge potential conflicts between them.
Yes, that's a really practical point. They know tensions can arise, so they stress the need for context-specific assessment, proportionality, always ensuring human rights compliance. This needs stakeholder engagement, social dialogue, ethical deliberation, due diligence, impact assessments.
And underpinning all of this is trust, right? Trustworthiness.
Exactly. Trustworthiness and integrity of the whole AI lifecycle are essential. And trust needs ongoing monitoring by everyone involved. The policies aim to build that trust.
Okay, let's break down the core values first. Number 1, respect, protection and promotion of human rights, fundamental freedoms, and human dignity.
This is the absolute foundation. Inherent human dignity is the starting point. No harm, no subordination, physically, economically, socially, psychologically. AI should enhance quality of life, as defined by people themselves within a human rights framework.
And how we interact with AI, especially vulnerable people.
Crucial point. People should never be objectified. Dignity and rights must always be respected. Tech should enable rights, not infringe upon them.
Okay. Value number 2, environment and ecosystem flourishing. This feels important and maybe more prominent now than in older frameworks.
It really reflects current understanding, doesn't it? They say the environment and ecosystems must be recognized, protected, promoted throughout the AI lifecycle. A healthy environment is prerequisite for humans to benefit from AI anyway.
Makes sense.
So AI actors need to comply with environmental laws, minimize impacts like carbon footprint, resource use.
Third value, ensuring diversity and inclusiveness. This goes beyond just anti-discrimination.
Yes, it's proactive. Respecting, protecting, promoting diversity and inclusion, consistent with international law. Promoting active participation for everyone, regardless of background. People's lifestyle choices, beliefs shouldn't be restricted. And tackling those gaps, infrastructure, education, skills, legal frameworks, especially in LMICs.
Got it. And the final value, living in peaceful, just, and interconnected societies. This sounds quite holistic.
It is. It envisions AI actors contributing positively to peace and justice, based on an interconnected future respecting rights. It emphasizes solidarity between people, with nature. AI should promote peace, inclusion, justice, equity, interconnectedness. Avoid segregation, objectification, undermining freedom, threatening coexistence.
Okay, those are the big values. Now the principles, the more operational guidelines. First up, proportionality and do no harm.
Right. This stresses that AI isn't automatically beneficial. Any AI process shouldn't exceed what's needed for a legitimate aim and must fit the context. Risk assessment and harm prevention are crucial.
And the decision to even use AI.
Needs justification? Is it appropriate?
Yeah.
Non-infringing? Scientifically sound? Relevant? And critically, final human determination for irreversible or life-and-death decisions. They explicitly prohibit social scoring and mass surveillance using AI.
Okay. Next principle. Safety and security. Seems fundamental for tech.
It is. Avoiding and addressing unwanted harms, that's safety and vulnerabilities, to attack that security throughout the life cycle. They note that privacy-protective data access helps build safer AI through better training and validation.
Makes sense. Then fairness and non-discrimination, clearly linked to the diversity value.
Exactly. Promoting social justice, safeguarding against discrimination under international law, ensuring inclusive access, considering diverse groups' needs, addressing digital divides, solidarity from richer countries to poorer ones.
And actively preventing bias.
Minimizing and avoiding reinforcing discriminatory outcomes, providing effective remedies if discrimination happens, tackling those digital and knowledge divides within and between countries.
Sustainability is the next principle, broader than just environment.
Yes. It calls for ongoing assessment of AI's impact, human, social, cultural, economic, and environmental, considering implications for evolving sustainability goals, like the SDGs.
Right to privacy and data protection. Hugely important now.
Absolutely critical. Privacy is essential for dignity, autonomy, agency. It must be respected throughout the life cycle. Data handling, collection, use, sharing, deletion must align with international law and these principles. Needs adequate data protection frameworks, governance.
Things like consent.
Yes, referencing international principles. Consent, rights of data subjects. Plus, privacy impact assessments, privacy by design. Accountability for protecting personal info.
Human oversight and determination. This feels like a key safeguard against runaway AI.
It's vital. Ethical and legal responsibility must always be attributable to humans or legal entities. Human oversight is individual and public. Humans decide if and when to cede control in limited contexts. AI can't replace ultimate human responsibility, especially not for life and death decisions.
Transparency and explainability. We hear these terms a lot for building trust.
Crucial for trust, yes. And essential for upholding rights, ethical principles, ensuring liability. Lack of transparency undermines challenging AI decisions.
How much transparency?
It should be appropriate to the context and impact, balanced with privacy and security. People need to be informed when AI affects them, especially regarding safety or rights. And they need a right to explanation and review. Transparency helps democracy via public scrutiny.
And explainability.
Making outcomes intelligible. Understanding input, output, how it works. Algorithms should be explainable for high-risk or non-temporary uses. It links directly to responsibility and trust.
Which leads perfectly to the next principle, responsibility and accountability.
Right. AI actors and member states must accept ethical and legal responsibility under national, international law, and human rights obligations. Responsibility follows the actor's role. Needs oversight, impact assessment, audits, due diligence, including whistleblower protection for accountability.
Traceability seems important here too.
Yes. Technical and institutional designs must allow auditability and traceability, especially if human rights or the environment are at stake.
Awareness and literacy is another principle, getting the public up to speed.
Critical need. Promote public understanding of AI and data value through accessible education, civic engagement, digital skills, AI ethics training, media literacy. Led by diverse stakeholders, considering diversity. Learning about AI impact should be through the lens of human rights and environmental well-being.
Okay. And the last principle, multi-stakeholder and adaptive governance and collaboration. Sounds like bringing everyone together.
Exactly. Respect international law and national sovereignty on data, but recognize the need for broad participation. Governments, organizations, tech communities, civil society, researchers, media, education, policymakers, private sector, rights bodies, youth groups.
For inclusive governance.
Yes, and shared benefits. Adopt open standards, interoperability, measures to handle tech shifts, and include marginalized groups, respecting indigenous data self-governance.
Wow. That's a very thorough set of values and principles, a really solid ethical foundation. Now, the document moves into specific policy action areas. Can you give us the highlights there?
Sure. These are the nuts and bolts, turning principles into action. One major area is ethical impact assessment.
What does that involve?
Basically, frameworks to assess benefits and risks, human rights, environment, ethical, social stuff, plus mitigation measures. Requires due diligence, oversight, assessing socioeconomic impacts like poverty, digital divide. Needs enforceable transparency, broad testing for high-risk AI, monitoring the whole life cycle.
Seems like a vital first step for any deployment.
Absolutely. Then there's ethical governance and stewardship.
Which means?
Inclusive, transparent, multidisciplinary, multi-stakeholder governance. Things like anticipating issues, protection, monitoring, enforcement, and crucially, redress for harms. Encouraging national strategies, maybe soft governance like certification, making sure LMICs participate in global discussions.
So, a collaborative and accountable way to oversee AI. What about the data itself?
That's covered under data policy. Developing data governance strategies, quality, security, feedback, strong privacy safeguards legislation, impact assessments, privacy by design, ensuring individual rights over data, promoting open data where suitable, facilitating quality data sets for AI.
Makes sense. Data is the fuel, and international cooperation.
Yes, development and international cooperation is key. Prioritizing AI ethics in international forums, ensuring AI in development aligns with these values, creating platforms for cooperation, sharing expertise, funding, data, promoting international research collaboration, especially with LMICs.
We talked about the environment value. How does that translate to policy?
Under environment and ecosystems, assess and reduce environmental impact throughout the life cycle, carbon footprint, energy, materials. Ensure compliance with environmental law. Maybe incentivize ethical AI for things like disaster resilience, environmental protection, sustainable resource management. Involve local communities. Favor efficient AI methods.
Okay, and the specific focus on gender equality.
Yes, gender is its own important policy area. Maximize AI's contribution to gender equality. Ensure women's and girls' rights and safety. Include a gender perspective in EIAs. Fund gender-responsive schemes, gender action plans in digital policies. Target labor education for women girls. Invest in STEM for them.
And avoiding negative impacts.
Crucially, ensure AI doesn't worsen gender gaps. Wages, representation, education, digital access, unpaid work. Avoid embedding stereotypes. Encourage female entrepreneurship and participation in AI development. UNESCO plans a best practice repository here.
Culture is another specific area. What's the focus there?
For culture, it's about using AI appropriately to preserve cultural heritage, tangible, intangible languages. Examine AI's cultural impact, like NLP on language nuances. Promote AI education for artists. Prevent market concentration in cultural industries. Engage tech companies for diversity and discoverability of local content. Research AI IP intersection. Encourage use by museums, galleries.
Education and research are core UNESCO areas. What policies there?
Education and research focuses on AI literacy for the public, reducing digital divides, promoting prerequisite skills, basic literacy, numeracy, coding, digital media literacy, critical thinking, teamwork, communication, socio-emotional skills, AI ethics. Awareness programs on AI impacts, including on rights, research ethical AI use in teachings learning, ensure AI empowers students, teachers, considering social aspects, strict requirements for AI and assessment, privacy, promote participation of underrepresented groups, develop AI ethics curricula, support AI ethics research, train researchers in ethics, encourage private sector data sharing, privacy compliant, base AI dev on rigorous research, promote interdisciplinary research, ensure scientific community awareness of AI's benefits, limits, risks.
That's comprehensive. What about how information flows, communication?
Under communication and information, use AI to improve access to information knowledge. Ensure AI actors respect free expression and information access and content generation, moderation, transparency, diverse viewpoints, appeal mechanisms. Invest in digital media literacy against disinformation. Enable media reporting on AI ethically.
And the impact on jobs and the economy.
Economy and labor addresses that. Assess AI's impact on labor markets' education needs, especially in labor-intensive economies. Introduce interdisciplinary skills. Support collaboration, govs, institutions, industry workers for training alignment, project-based AI learning, fair transition for at-risk workers, upskilling, reskilling, safety nets, research local labor impacts, ensure competitive markets, consumer protection, respect ethics when exporting AI.
Finally, health and well-being.
Yes, health and social well-being. Use AI effectively for health, disease mitigation, solidarity, consistent with rights. Regulate AI in health, especially mental health kids, for safety, efficacy. Ethics involve patients. Pay attention to bias, human expertise, privacy consent, human oversight. Research mental health harms from AI. Guidelines for human-robot interaction. Care, education, kids. Ensure users know if they're interacting with AI, can request human intervention. Policies on anthropomorphism awareness. Research long-term interaction impacts, especially on kids. Engage youth in discussions.
Wow, that covers pretty much everything, an incredibly broad set of policy recommendations. How do they suggest tracking progress on all this?
Good question. That's under monitoring and evaluation. Member states should monitor using quantitative and qualitative methods. UNESCO offers to help develop methodologies for EIAs, readiness assessment, policy evaluation, strengthen research reporting, share progress, and best practices.
Who should be involved in monitoring?
Broad stakeholders, including vulnerable groups, ensuring diversity, develop tools and indicators against agreed standards, including targets for disadvantaged groups, continuous monitoring proportionate to risks based on international frameworks, evaluating public and private bodies. Data collection must comply with international law and these principles. They suggest things like ethics commissions, observatories, repositories, experience sharing, sandboxes, assessment guides.
And how should this recommendation actually be used, put into practice?
The utilization and exploitation section says member states and stakeholders should respect, promote, protect the values, principles, and implement the policies. Cooperation between states, organizations, corporations is encouraged. UNESCO's EIA methodology and national ethics commissions are highlighted as useful tools.
And promoting the recommendation itself.
Under promotion, UNESCO positions itself as the lead UN agency, collaborating with others. They also acknowledge the important advocacy role of civil society.
Okay. And the final thoughts, any caveats?
The final provisions just reiterate it should be understood as a whole. Values and principles are complementary. And crucially, nothing in it overrides existing international law or justifies actions contrary to human rights, dignity, or environmental well-being.
So bringing this all together, it really feels like UNESCO has delivered a vital, comprehensive framework for navigating AI ethics globally.
It really is. It strongly centers human rights, environmental well-being, and inclusive development as the absolute must-haves for ethical AI.
And that call for multi-stakeholder engagement, for real international cooperation, that seems absolutely critical for making any of this actually work.
Definitely. And it's crucial to see this not as a finished product set in stone.
Right.
It's intended as the foundation for ongoing dialogue, continuous reflection, and adaptation as AI keeps evolving so incredibly fast.
Which leads us nicely to our final thought for you today. Given that speed, that rapid advancement in AI, what specific ethical challenges do you think will demand the most urgent attention, the most focused action in the next few years?
That's the big question, isn't it?
It is, and we really do encourage everyone listening to check out the full UNESCO recommendation. There's obviously a lot more depth and nuance there on this incredibly important topic.